What's the most pathetic hill your spouse chose to die on? My husband and I got married a little over a year ago. Anyways, I ordered DoorDash for us for lunch yesterday, and when it arrived, he got it from the porch. When he came back to the kitchen, he was visibly upset, and when I asked what was wrong, he asked me why my last initial on the order was still my maiden name. I told him I never really thought about it. He asked me to change it, but I refused and told him he was overreacting because it wasn't that important, as it's only for the dasher to get whatever we ordered from the restaurant, and you don't even have to put your real name. He blew up and wouldn't talk to me for hours. He eventually said if I was ashamed of using his last name, then I should just say so. And without letting me speak, he left to stay at his parents' house. He hasn't responded to any of my texts or calls for the last 24 hours, but I still have his location, and he is indeed at his parents' house. Honestly, at this point, I have no idea what to think. A for not changing it when he asked, or is this a start to something much bigger? We've never argued this and have had a perfect marriage and relationship otherwise. I just feel like I don't know the man I'm married to anymore. Update, I am definitely an idiot, but the best lessons are learned firsthand. A few days after my original post, he came home. His mother had called me, we have always been on fairly good terms, asking what was going on since he wouldn't tell her. I explained the situation, and she told me she was very disappointed in him for starting all this over something so simple, regardless of whether I was willing to change it or not. Anyways, he came home and apologized with the most sincere apology I've ever received in my life, or so I thought. This weekend, his job had a Labor Day party where all his coworkers and their families were invited over to the boss's house. We don't normally go to these sorts of things because our families are usually doing things on the same days, but this time we decided to go since my children were with their dad and our families were out of town. We get there, and I'm meeting a lot of new people, but I'm most looking forward to meeting Danny, the guy I assumed was his best friend, since he's always talking about him. Danny is nowhere to be found until this drop-dead gorgeous woman walks in. Turns out Danny is actually Danny, short for Danielle. I kept my cool at the omission of her gender, but it all clicked when she and I had a conversation. She is probably one of the most progressive women I've ever met, but not in an aggressive manner. I honestly think I could be really good friends with this woman. She's so poised and genuinely nice. She told me she recently got engaged. The funny thing is, she owns a side business, so she will not be changing her last name. Apparently, my husband made a fool of himself to her as well, by saying her fiancé wasn't a real man, because he's okay with that. She told him off and didn't speak to him for a few days. She said he apologized, get this, before he apologized to me. Anyways, turns out that whole argument was a projection of his own inner feelings and the discrepancy between him and Danny. I kept my cool at the party, but in the conversation I had with him later, he admitted to having a crush on her. I was so livid and hurt by this I kicked him out. I'm going to be calling divorce lawyers today because I'm done, and will not spend the rest of my life worrying if he has something going on with one of his coworkers. I'm just thankful that the house was mine before we got married.